RER, period 6.2. Welcome to a new topic. Let's have some fun. We'll break this into 4 different sections, maybe 4 days, depends on how fast you want to go and how much you want to do in a day. But here we go. Let's get this started. Give me a big 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. There we go. Period 6.2. Accelerating global change and realignment. The Cold War and the post-war balance of power. All right, quick little summary for you of everything. All right, the decades following World War II were dominated by the relationship between two superpowers. We have the United States and what will become known as the USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic, or Russia. During the post-war period, the superpowers were almost always on the verge of, you can say it, almost always on the verge of warfare. That's right. Okay. As former colonial possessions gained independence, many of them sought, what did they seek? What were they seeking? They would want to have aid from either the United States or they wanted aid from the Soviet Union, which will eventually be the USSR. As the Soviets extended their dominion throughout Eastern Europe, Asia and Cuba and the United States attempted to, what are we wanting to do to the communist expansion? We want to eliminate it? No, we just want to contain it. This becomes the policy of the United States, is to contain communism where it is. Very good. There's your summary. Let's get into this. All right. The beginnings of the Cold War. British Prime Minister Winston, what's his name? You know it. You know it. He'll take you to church. Winston Churchill, that's right. Described the new post-World War by stating that something is doing something. What's happening to Europe? An Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain was dividing free and communist governments had fallen across Europe. In order to prevent communist-dominated nations east of the Iron Curtain from spreading west, the United States sponsored a program of European recovery known as the Marshall Plan. And the way I like to remember the Marshall Plan, it's all about this first letter right here that it starts with. The Marshall Plan is all about money, money, money. Yeah, money to rebuild Europe with our Marshall Plan so that communism will not come in and spread. All right. The program provided, I just told you guys, but we're going to say an L word for it, loans to European nations to assist them in their wartime recovery. All right. Now, Harry Truman, our president who dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he has his plan called the Truman Doctrine. And this is where we get the idea of containment. So the U.S. policy of the Truman Doctrine of communism, all right, was set forth in 1947 in 1947 in the Truman Doctrine. Now, I've screwed this up. It's okay. I want you to just fix it. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. It works out. So the U.S. policy of, and I know you can't erase as well as I can, but the U.S. policy I told you earlier is containment, all right, of communism was set forth in the 1947 Truman Doctrine. So containment is that policy of containing communism where it is. Right in the borders, wherever you have to do, we can work with it. It'll be flexible. It'll be all right. All right, so here we go. When Greece and Turkey were threatened by communism, U.S. President, what's his name again? Truman issued his policy of containment, which pledged U.S. support for countries battling against communism. That's right, that's right. All right, here we go. 1946, Great Britain, France, and the United States merged their occupation zones into a unified West Germany with free elections. Now remember, Germany was divided into 4 areas. The United States got a piece, Britain got a piece, France got a piece, and then the Soviet Union got a piece. These 3 pieces are coming together, forming West Germany versus East Germany. The same thing happens to the city of Berlin. And that'll come in and be important later. So in 1947, Western attempts to promote economic recovery by stabilizing the German currency resulted in a Soviet blockade of, what's that place they're going to blockade? Soviet, I just told you, Berlin. All right, the divided city located within the Russian zone of occupation for nearly 11 months. British and U.S. planes airlifted supplies to Berlin. They called it the Berlin Airlift until Soviets lifted or finally stopped their blockade. All right, very good. Now, two opposing alliances are going to emerge again. All right, faced off during the Cold War era. We have our alliance system before World War I, alliances for World War II. Now we got alliances after World War II. All right, the first one is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is still around today. The United States is a part of it and was led by the United States. All right, it was founded in, when was NATO founded? It was founded in 1949, okay, the year before the Korean War. All right, so NATO allied with Canada, the United States, and most of Western Europe against the Soviet aggression. The Soviet Union was like, well, you got an alliance, we're going to get one. They responded with this alliance of its Eastern European satellites. They call it check out this name, Warsaw Pact. All right. So European nations, the Warsaw Pact. U.S. rivalry then intensified in 1949, the year before Korea, when the Soviet Union developed an atomic bomb. Oh my gosh, two nations now have nuclear weapons. The Cold War escalated to military confrontations in, where are we? In 1950, that's right, when North Koreans forces invaded South Korea. All right, North Korea eventually received the backing of, check this out, the Soviet Union and Communist China, while a United States or a United Nations coalition led by the United States supported South Korea. Very good. All right, the Korean conflict ended with the establishment of the boundary between the two Koreas near the original line called the DMZ, which means demilitarized zone. It's about 50 miles wide. Nobody's allowed to be in there. But we also call it it's a name of the number of the latitude line that it's on, the 38th parallel. The 38th parallel. There we go. Okay. The beginnings of decolonization. Next topic. After the end of World War II, most European nations and the United States decided that their colonies were too, check this out, colonies, it cost some money, so too expensive. Oh, I can't spell. They're too expensive to maintain. Within the colonies, renewed, check this out. It's something else that caused these wars. Are the colonies going to have a renewed sense of nationalism or nationalist sentiments led Native peoples to hope that their long-expected independence would become a reality. In 1946, the United States granted are we going to grant? This is somebody we've been owning for a while now, since the Spanish-American War, the Philippines. Their independence. Finally, they are free. Okay? France was alone in wanting to hold on to its colonies in Algeria and in Indochina. And then this is where Vietnam is. This is why the Vietnam War will start. So France is the only imperialistic power still in Europe. All right, Africa. Let's go to Africa now. The year is 1957. Ghana became the first African colony to gain its, what's the big word? Independence. First African colony to gain its independence. By 1960, French possessions in West Africa, all right, were freed. And the Belgian Congo was granted, what's that big word again? Independence. Independence movements in the settler colonies of Algeria, Kenya, and southern Rhodesia took on a violent nature. And by 1963, Kenya was independent. 1962, a revolt in Algeria also had ended colonial rule in that country. Southern Rhodesia became the independent state of, what was the name of that state? Became the independent state of, you know, guess? Rhodesia will become the independent state of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe in 1980, and in 1990, Zambia, German Southwest Africa, which had been named a mandate of South Africa in 1920, became the last African colony to achieve, what's that big word right now? Africa is basically becoming independent, or we achieved independence. They got independence. There you go. Woo! And a little brain errors there. All right, so let's continue. In South Africa, the white settler population was divided almost equally between Afrikaners and English settlers. Those are white Africans. Although the white settlers were a minority, by 1948, the Afrikaners had imposed upon South Africa a highly restrictive form of racial segregation known as, and there's the word right next to you, apartheid. Okay? Apartheid prohibited people of color from voting and from having many contacts with whites. The best jobs were reserved for whites only. Apartheid continued after South Africa gained its independence from Great Britain in 1961. All right, Egypt won its independence in the 1930s. Meanwhile, the British continued to maintain a presence in the, what's that canal? The Suez Canal Zone. After Egypt's defeat in the Arab-Israeli War of, 55, the Egyptian military, it revolted. And then in, I just lied to y'all. This is in 48, all right? The Arab-Israeli War in 48. And then in 1955, King Farouk was overthrown. In 1954, Gamal Abdul Nasser was installed as the ruler of an, what's that word again? Independent Egypt. That's right, an independent Egypt. I know it's spelled wrong. We'll keep going, though, because we're going to run out of time. In 1956, Nasser, backed by the United States and the Soviet Union, all right, ended the influence of the British and their French allies in this, what's the name of that area? The Suez Canal Zone. 1967, Nasser faced a decisive defeat once again in the Six-Day War with Israel. His successor, Anwar Sadat, strove to end hostilities with Israel after a non-decisive war with Israel in 1973. Sadat's policies of accepting aid, accepting aid from the United States, I can't spell, United States, and Western Europe had been continued by his successor, Hansi, who came to power after the assassination of Sadat and by 8 Muslim fundamentalists. All right, almost done here. The effects of decolonization. Independence did not bring death, of peace or prosperity to most of the new African nations. New states tended to maintain colonial boundaries, meaning that they often cut through ethnic and cultural groups. Sometimes ethnic conflicts turned, what's that big word? Violent. As the tribal conflicts in territories of the former Belgian, talking about the Congo, and the big one right at the end, the B. All right.